Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Raising the Flipping Bar. This is actually part 2 with Tabitha Bartel with the Impact Group. So I'd actually stress to go back and listen to the first part. You're going to get a ton of knowledge about the luxury market. And what we're going to dive into next is her success and track record with her fellow partners of running actually the number one successful real estate team in Metro Denver with the folks over at Impact. And then what she's doing to help coach her staff with the NAR lawsuit settlement. And we're going to actually end up with what is her why. You know that we love Simon Sinek. She's got this great connection too. So let's jump into today's episode right now. Welcome to Raising the Flipping Bar, the go-to podcast for aspiring and seasoned real estate investors. I'm your host, Derek Marlin, and I'm the CEO of Elevation. We're a real estate investment company based right here in Denver, Colorado. We'll dive into smart investment strategies, market insights, and essential tips for scaling your real estate ventures. Whether you're making your first investment or your 100th investment, this podcast is your blueprint for success in the ever-evolving world of real estate investing. Get ready to elevate your real estate game and begin your journey with me. And I think one of the fun things that, yeah, you're right. We had Dan as a guest, and I'm trying to get John on. So John, if you're out there, I want you to be a guest. But with Dan and I, we're talking about, I think it's really smart and it's being selective. And not from an elitist standpoint, it doesn't serve both people. Like you're right. If some people are just out, there's some other folks you see out there and you can feel it's just a number. It's like, I want X. Well, do they really produce Y? And are you pouring into them? And how can you manage that many people? There's one person out there, it's like one person and barely an assistant. They say they have 400 people or whatever. I'm like, there's no way in hell you can effectively run that type of an organization. And it's not fair for both sides. So I love that's what you guys are doing too, because I can tell from afar.
Our people produce, but they're producing in a way that makes sense for them. So that's what we've always said. And we actually created this incredible training program. We took the best from all the training programs that you've got out there. Yeah. So Bold and Ninja and the list goes on, and just took it down to the basics of what we do at Impact. And we built something from the ground up. And we were so fortunate. We used to teach it a lot more. We still teach it to our team members. Okay. And the basis of it is what works for me is not going to work for you. You are you're Derek, and I'm Tabitha, and we can say the same exact thing and someone else is going to take it in two very different ways, right? We're going to run with it. And that's the beauty of this business. I think that's the beauty of life and sales, is that there is no one right way. It's the right way for you.
No, that's really well said. And it's funny because we were just talking off camera that we were doing our Elevation Business Book Club, and I'm grabbing like our top little book here, Extreme Ownership. And I think of almost that like the Navy SEALs, like what those guys can accomplish in a very small group of people that are insanely effective can beat monstrous armies of people in other countries. Like it's the same thing. If you have super driven, successful people that you're all pouring into one another, you're gonna win in whatever definition that is, no matter what.
What I love about that book too is that they have to have implicit trust to one another, right? And it's literally life or death. Luckily for us in real estate, it's almost never life and death. Don't sign me up for that. That's not for me. Yep. But they are working together and everyone has their exact place in their exact role and what they need to do. And that's been the beauty of growing Impact as well, is that we have really sat on, what am I good at? What is John the best at? What is Dan the best at? What does Brandon do? And they're not the same thing. Yeah. And then giving us that space to go and do it. And then all of our agents as well. And then having them come in and teach each other. It's so beautiful. I could teach a whole class on farming because I look it up, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing about what we do at Impact, is that the people who are leading Impact are actually still in the business.
That's great.
And we're doing the business, which is very different than a lot of other coaching programs and teams out there.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. That's a huge thing for us too, is I think there's so many people that flip and they're teaching stuff from 8 years ago in 2 different markets. And I'm always like, I call ourselves the lab. Like we're always testing on ourselves. We're telling the good and the bad. And that's the only way to really support people, in my opinion. So I do want to ask one more thing on the team thing. Is there something that you do that you work on your business versus, let's say, in your business? Is there maybe a go-to that you have or a tip that you can share to do the high level stuff instead of like, oh, I got to do this showing or write this contract? What are you doing at the 30,000 foot level to keep you guys successful?
Absolutely. So I would say personally for me, someone gave me this advice year one, and they said, never ignore what you already have in your pipeline to go run and chase something that's not there yet. And so really loving on the people that are ready, willing, and able to do business has served me the best. So giving them a lot of love, but not everything, right? So keeping a little bit of that for what do you want your future to look like? I would say there's no magic pill to this. It's called consistency. And it's like working out or eating well. One Chick-fil-A, that's my favorite. One
Yes, I love it.
chicken nugget meal is not going to derail your entire diet and exercise plan, right? But if you're doing that every single day and you're not taking care of your body, all of a sudden that looks like something very different. So taking a day off or taking a week off and not making your calls, that's okay. You need that break. But if you're only making 2 calls a week, eventually that's going to show up in your future. So it's about dialing in for me on my goals. What do I want to do this week? What do I want to do this month? What do I want to do this year? And then from a high level, and then honestly, it's that day-to-day. What do I need to do today to feel successful at the end of my day, the end of my week, the end of my month, and the end of my year? I'm a huge vision board person. I love to plan out and map out exactly what I'm going to do. I was telling you off camera that I have a perfect week for the summer, and my perfect summer week is very different than my perfect week in the fall when my boys are in school, and giving myself the space to have that fun with them, to take it off my plate, to not feel like I have to make 50 phone calls just to say that I did it. And knowing that, we always are told to trust our intuition and our gut. And no one talks about that in the real estate world enough, where there's this kind of idea that there are people who want to do business and they'll just pop up into my head randomly. And maybe I haven't talked to them for 6 months or 2 years, and I'll just reach out just to see how they're doing. It's not about business, but it's like this weird, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a spidey sense or something where it's like, oh, I haven't connected. Maybe it's just my own conscience saying, you haven't called that seller for a while. You haven't called that buyer to check in on them. And it's like just that kind of staying in flow and connecting with people and being consistent.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. That's a huge thing for us too, is I think there's so many people that flip and they're teaching stuff from 8 years ago in 2 different markets. And I'm always like, I call ourselves the lab. Like we're always testing on ourselves. We're telling the good and the bad. And that's the only way to really support people, in my opinion. So I do want to ask one more thing on the team thing. Is there something that you do that you work on your business versus, let's say, in your business? Is there maybe like a go-to that you have or a tip that you can share, kind of do the high level stuff instead of like, oh, I got to, do this showing or write this contract? What are you doing at the 30,000 foot level to keep you guys successful?
Absolutely. So I would say personally for me, someone gave me this advice year 1, and they said, never ignore what you already have in your pipeline to go run and chase something that's not there yet. And so really loving on the people that are ready, willing, and able to do business has served me the best. So giving them a lot of love, but not everything, right? So keeping a little bit of that for what do you want your future to look like? I would say there's no magic pill to this. It's called consistency. And it's like working out or eating well. One Chick-fil-A, that's my favorite. One
Yes, I love it.
chicken nugget meal is not going to derail your entire diet and exercise plan, right? But if you're doing that every single day and you're not taking care of your body, all of a sudden that looks like something very different. So taking a day off or taking a week off and not making your calls, that's okay. You need that break. But if you're only making 2 calls a week, eventually that's going to show up in your future. So it's about dialing in for me on my goals. What do I want to do this week? What do I want to do this month? What do I want to do this year? And then from a high level, and then honestly, it's that day-to-day. What do I need to do today to feel successful at the end of my day, the end of my week, the end of my month, and the end of my year? So I'm a huge vision board person.
Oh, nice.
I love to plan out and map out exactly what I'm going to do. I was telling you off camera that I have a perfect week for the summer, and my perfect summer week is very, very different than my perfect week in the fall when my boys are in school, and giving myself the space to have that fun with them.
That's cool.
To take it off my plate, to not feel like I have to make 50 phone calls just to say that I did it. And knowing that, there's we always are told to trust our intuition and our gut. And no one talks about that in the real estate world enough, where there's this kind of idea that there are people who want to do business and they'll just pop up into my head randomly. And maybe I haven't talked to them for 6 months or 2 years, and I'll just reach out just to see how they're doing. It's not about business, but it's like this weird, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a spidey sense or something where it's like, oh, I haven't connected. Maybe it's just my own conscience. I don't know. Conscience saying, you haven't called that seller for a while. You haven't called that buyer to check in on them. And it's like just that kind of staying in flow and connecting with people and being consistent.
Cool.
I wish I had like some magic number of how many people to call or who to call or what to do or do it between 9 and 11. I don't believe in any of those things. I think doing what you will do consistently is the right answer.
No, I think that's perfect. Well, and since we've mentioned the books and stuff, give me maybe one of your top books that you love from a business development standpoint and a leadership standpoint. Again, maybe thinking like on the business instead of in the business, maybe one of your top faves.
My favorite leadership book of all time when it comes to building teams is called Culture Code. And it's by Daniel Coyle, and it changed my entire life. It helped me become a better coach. It helped me become a better person and a better team lead, because when you can create this culture of people around you who want to be there, it doesn't just push them. It doesn't get the best results out of your team. It also gets the best results out of you. And we as humans need to feel excited. We need to feel like we belong somewhere. And this book is all about how to create a space of belonging and inclusivity without feeling like you need to be exclusive. And to me, that says everything about not just real estate, but life too.
Yeah, that's really well said. I want to hit on one other topic before we get you out of here. I want to be sensitive of your time. Obviously, we're in a shifting market. Things are way different from the middle of 2022 when they kind of fell off a little bit of a cliff, had a little rebound. Now I feel like it's softening again. I know, total crystal ball question. I know you and I would be far wealthier if we knew the answer to this, but just in general, share with our audience, like, where do you think we're going to kind of end up with the year? And in general, how do you feel like 2025 is going to be for Denver real estate?
We are seeing so many people moving out of Denver right now and out of Colorado. So we're in the top 15 of states of people who are taking their stuff and going elsewhere. Right. We were in the top 5 during the pandemic. People were coming in by tens of thousands. And there were a couple of moments we had more people moving into the state than people were being born in the state.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And that is shifting dramatically to the opposite end, right? So I don't have a crystal ball. Mm-hmm. What I would say is likely going to happen is that we'll see maybe a 1% to 2% appreciation. Good news is that prices are staying pretty consistent, even with interest rates. Interest rates are fluctuating a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see how the impending election what that does to interest rates. We know that historically they spike up, they come down. And so we'll see how that happens. I think that with inflation, we're going to see them stay pretty consistent. But there's always been a need for people to make moves. And so what we saw in 2023 was this bottleneck, and even the beginning of 24, this bottleneck of people who have these 2% interest rates. They don't want to leave their current property, but maybe they're bursting at the seams. Yeah. Maybe they went from 2 people to 3 people in their household, or, 2 small kids to all of a sudden they need more space, or they don't want to be in the city anymore. There are divorces, there are marriages, there are deaths, there are just the normal life stuff. So what's been nice is that I feel like buyers are starting to finally come back around to that and are willing to take a little bit of a chance. They're not as nervous about the real estate market as they were in the fall of 2023. So I would say, just in the last 3 weeks, I've seen a huge uptick, which is very unusual for July, right? We usually see after the 4th of July, everything just completely falls off. But I'm seeing not the opposite of that, but definitely much more of a consistent number. So I anticipate we're going to see that 2%-ish growth rate coming to the end of the year. Now, in some markets, in some neighborhoods, we're going to see a 10% decrease or an 8% decrease. I forecast that in places like Commerce City and Greeley and some of those just outward suburban areas. And then where there's still a lot of demand and not a lot of inventory, it will continue to rise. And Denver's still a great place to live. We still have a booming economy here. So I don't anticipate a massive fall off of home prices and home values, which is really wonderful for homeowners. But I would say that if you bought in 21 or 22, you're not going to be able to sell for an amount of money that makes sense unless you got in with a deal that was under market value at that time. So kind of wait it out would be my overall advice. And I don't know what are you hearing and what are you seeing in that?
Yeah, I would completely agree. We're big proponents of my number one metric is just in general supply and demand. So we are at a weird inflection point where we've had this monstrous amount of additional inventory that's hit the market in April and May and now in June.
The most active inventory in 10 years.
Yes.
Which is wild.
Which is really, really weird. But I do think you're right. A perfect example is we had one of our agents and she was working with one of her clients and they moved into a condo as just a couple. And then fast forward 3 years later, they now have 2 kiddos and they're in a 2-bedroom condo. Like to your point, they're literally bursting at the seams. So they're bummed because they're going to lose their 3% rate. But what we're trying to help people is realize we can negotiate so much better for you on price and get you a significant discount on most properties. And then you can refi at some point. Like I get a little bothered when people are like, oh, just refi in a year. I'm not smart enough to say whether it's going to be 1 year or 3 years, but in a couple of years, which is better anyways, because you're going to pay down your debt, is a refi. So yeah, we're definitely seeing things healthy. And we're seeing it a little bit to what you talked about earlier. It's like a tale of 2 properties. If it's priced right for whatever that price point is, and it's fixed up really well for whatever that price point is. So whether in our world, our sweet spot is like our flips are normally like, we're like $400,000 to $800,000. Like I said, we just got out of these $1 million ones and I don't think we're going back for a while. But if you're doing that well and doing that right, if you price it right, if you make it done perfectly, it's going to go very, very quickly. Probably won't go way over asking, but it'll probably go at asking maybe slightly above 1 or 2 offers. If not, if you miss the boat, you're going to sit for 90 days. So we're going to take a quick break and tell you about the Next Elevation Academy. If you're looking to dive deep into real estate investing, this is definitely the event for you. Our academy features over a 100-step process to help you navigate every single thing from market analysis all the way down to every aspect of project management. So this is tailored for both beginners and seasoned investors. And our one-day intensive training will equip you with the strategies and insights needed to elevate your real estate investing game. Spots are definitely limited, so click on the link below in the show notes to sign up and transform your approach to real estate investment. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
Absolutely.
Easily.
And it's funny too, because in 22, you could put an ARV of almost whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Right? You could make up a number because there just was no supply at all.
Right.
And today, more than it has been in the entire time that I've been in real estate, which is not that long. It's only been 7.5 years, but it is more important than ever to price properly and to, like I said, complete those details and then time it correctly as well. Because with all of this inventory on the market and looking for those potential properties, if you're looking in an area that has 20, 30 houses for sale, I would look somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I'm doing a lot on educating my agents and educating my sellers is trying to help them understand the differences between today and July of 2022.
Yeah.
We're very different. And the media can be great. It also can put a lot of fear and a lot of misinformation, just very specific misinformation out there that gives our general public an idea of what's happening that might not be happening in our micro markets. And to your point, Sloan's Lake is a micro market, Wash Park is a micro market, and they are not the same. And what buyers need in Wash Park is very different than what they're looking for in Sloan's Lakes. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to see where things are going. Is it a little bit nerve-wracking to have listings sit on the market for 30 days, 45 days when I'm used to putting something up on a coming soon on Wednesday and never having it hit the market because we have 4 off-market offers? Or those were fun days. But it's also a great time to buy. Yes. If you're really willing to put the due diligence in and you're going to hold on to a property for a while, I'm telling my buyers it's not a bad time to buy. The news might tell you it is, but that's not necessarily the case. And prices were still seeing them either be consistent or slightly going up, that means the amount of money that you need to have in 2 or 3 years is going to be vastly different than what you need now. And you're losing that opportunity on equity, even at a slower than historical rate over the last 5 years. It's still worth it in so many ways. So it's really, like you said, that education piece on all fronts.
Yeah. Well, and tell me a little bit about your take on the NAR settlement. To me, it's always a hot topic. And I try to ask everybody in this seat, kind of what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Especially for you being a high producing agent and having a team of other rock stars. How are you feeling? What are you seeing? And how do you think this is going to maybe change your business? Because it's almost on us.
So the beautiful thing about this lawsuit is that it seemingly is changing everything. And then at the same time, it's really only changing one thing, which is that those co-ops are not going to be listed in the MLS anymore. And coming from a seller's point of view, sellers were never required to pay the buyer's agent anything, right? Like commission has always been negotiable from the beginning of real estate through today. And so I think the beautiful piece of that is that if your mindset is that it's always been negotiable, it will continue to be negotiable. And my job is to help my buyer buy a house or my seller sell that house. What's the best way for that to happen? It might still be, and I predict that it will still be, in the seller's best interest to offer a buyer's agent, a co-op, to help that buyer get into that property. And so if that seller really wants to sell, that money, that net number can still be the same. It's just, where is it going to go? Is it going to go in the list price? Is it going to go in that buyer's agent co-op? How is that going to work? And that is the thing that I think will shift slightly. But overall, buyers still want to buy, sellers still want to sell. And it's going to put a little bit more work on our hands. We have to do a little bit more due diligence. I don't think it's a bad thing also to do the things that we've been conditioned to do. In Colorado specifically, we've always been told to get that buyer agency agreement signed before you're out looking at properties, right? So will that be good for us to stay in compliance a little bit more and not wait until we're putting an offer in? Absolutely. So I think for us and for our team, we just had a big team meeting on this on Tuesday. Everything in life, there are so many truths, right? But my truth might be different than your truth, but we can be given the exact same information. And the way that I deal with it could be different than the way that you deal with it. And that's what makes a solid agent who's going to be in the industry for 20, 30 years versus a lot of agents that are going to get out of this because they don't have that same mindset. We all have the same opportunities. It's going to be the way that we handle it. And I think it's good to have more transparency with our clients as well. Yeah. So I don't necessarily see it as this horrible, horrible thing. I think also it's going to help us as agents to communicate between the buyer's agent and the listing agent far more. And to get that information out there right away is also going to be helpful. Are we going to see some weird workarounds? Are we going to see some stuff? Of course, that's always how this happens. I think the shakeout is going to be prevalent for the next 2 to 3 years. And so we'll see what happens. But for us, it's about educating our agents and just being really prepared.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Well, I want to wrap on this last question, and that is we're going to kind of come full circle. We talked about the start of your career. We've talked a ton about what you've done, which has been super exciting. I saw that you follow Simon Sinek on your LinkedIn profile. That's one of the things we actually teach in our Elevation Academy is we teach to start with why. I think, again, most people think, I want to be a flipper and I want to make a bunch of money or I want to be an investor, but you have to start with why. So I would love to hear, what is your why? And I will caveat that with, what's your why now? Because to me, why has always changed, but what's your why?
I love that you said that because my why now is very different. My why when I got into the business was to prove that I could. And my why was I had this goal of making 6 figures in a year because I never had seen that in my family. I grew up without any kind of home ownership. My mother to this day is nearly 60 years old and has never owned her own home. So this idea of home ownership and having the solidity and the security of being able to be a homeowner was one of the reasons I got into this business, was to be able to help people do that and seeing how it changed our lives. My husband and I being able to move from our first house to our current house and watching that equity grow. But my why today is to help other people get into this industry and to just blossom and grow grow and do what they are capable of doing, even if they don't believe it. So I love to help people to realize that potential and the way that they're going to be able to build their lives and their businesses. From just an agent perspective, for my clients, my why at the beginning was just to prove that I could do it. Now it's to help them see that they can do it, whether it's selling their property and taking all of the stress off of their hands or as much as possible. Yeah. Same thing on the buy side, because, it's a tough process to go through. So my why has shifted a little bit more to the experience rather than being not solely for myself, but I proved that I could do it. And now I get to, it's kind of like Maslow's pyramid of hierarchy, right? Like I got my basic needs met. So now I can help other agents and I can really focus on my clients.
Yeah, I love it. Well, this has been such a great episode, but I want to also say, where can people find more about you? How can they follow you? How can they interact with you?
Absolutely. So I'm most active on my Instagram at Bartel Sells Colorado.
Okay, cool. Tabitha, thank you so much for being a guest. It's been amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll catch you on the flip side.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Raising the Flipping Bar. If you found value in our insights and stories, let's keep the conversation going. Connect with me on social media and be sure to share this episode with friends or colleagues who might benefit. Your feedback and reviews help us grow and reach more listeners like you. So please, if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review. Thanks again to the Elevation Academy for sponsoring today's show. If you're interested in learning more, click the link in the show notes below. And remember, every property tells a story, every deal brings a lesson. Keep reaching for those goals, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening and watching Raising the Flipping Bar. Just a basic overall disclaimer is that A, this is not legal advice. B, this is not tax advice. C, this is not financial advice. I hope you get the gist, but I'm obviously not a lawyer, not a CPA. Hell, I'm not even a real estate agent, actually. But in general, we hope you get a ton of value out of this, but there is a bit of a disclaimer. Please consult a professional if you have any questions whatsoever. Thanks for tuning in.